Welcome back to another Doctor Who Big Finish audio drama video. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, and I'm not going to be reviewing an actual audio drama release. As you can all tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be doing a Big Finish collection video, taking a look at all the physical CDs that I have in my collection, which is something of which that a lot of people have been wanting for a very long time on this channel. I think ever since I started the Big Finish reviews, I think back in late 2015, early 2016, people have been saying over and over again, please do a Big Finish collection video, and I never have. I think that the Big Finish collection has featured in the background of a few videos here and there. I've gone into them. I think that if you follow me on social media, you'll have a better idea of what I in fact own physically. But yeah, this is kind of an exciting video because for the first time ever, I'm going to be going into every single Big Finish audio CD and record vinyl that I in fact own. So I hope you enjoy this video. However, before I start this tour, I would just like to clarify that, of course, over the past few years, I have reviewed a lot of Big Finish for this channel, and a lot of those I in fact have digitally on my laptop, and I don't have them physically because, quite frankly, I do not have the space nor money to in fact buy every single release physically. I would love to have every single release that I've reviewed. However, I would probably need a whole separate room for Big Finish completely by itself. So I think my way of showing appreciation for Big Finish releases is actually going out of my way and buying the ones that I really enjoy, so such as, say, the main series adventures of the ones that I most enjoy, such as, say, the 8th Doctor, or even Jago and Lightfoot. There's not a series of that goes by that I do not buy physically because I really enjoy buying them, and I love to be able to in fact point to those on the shelf and say I love that box set or love that series of adventures. So yeah, as I say, this is not my full Big Finish collection. The majority of it is on my laptop. However, at the same time, this is kind of all the ones I've gone and physically bought myself. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions about Big Finish or where to jump on, I have done a Big Finish for Beginners video. Could be a little bit outdated by now, but it is still worth checking out. And yeah, I do have a lot of Big Finish reviews to check out as well. If you are wanting to know my thoughts about the other releases that I feature throughout this collection, then the likelihood is I've probably done a whole review of it, so just check those out in the Big Finish playlist. So here is the first of two shelves where the majority of my Big Finish collection is kept. Now, as you can see, we do have a range of different merchandise on here. The Big Finish for CDs are mainly along the back of the actual shelf, and then those are of course covered in Titan vinyl figures, Universal remotes, lots of different TARDISes and those Paradigm Dalek things. I'm going to be taking the majority of that off just to make this video a little bit easier to film, but I just thought that would show you how this actually normally looks on a day-to-day basis when all the merchandise is on there, along with the Big Finish CDs. So here is the shelf with all of the non-Big Finish merchandise removed. Now, the first thing that you'll probably notice is we don't have anything like a chronological order or anything like that, because we have the 8th Doctor at one side and then Jago and Lightfoot at the other, because the thing with the Big Finish collection is you can't really put it in chronological order because it is essentially an extension from the TV show itself, meaning that it would be a little bit complex to put it in an actual timeline kind of order. So I've just gone with an order that makes sense to me, sort of grouping the Time War and the Doctors together, and then also the spin-offs in different areas as well. This shelf itself is mostly my actual box sets as opposed to the singular releases. I do have a completely different shelf for those. I suppose that this is mainly the Time War and Jago and Lightfoot shelf. Starting off with the delightful Paul McGann era. So we of course start off with Dark Eyes 1, just by itself. I don't have any of the other Dark Eyes. I think that I got this in a sale back in 2015 because I heard a lot of people raving about Dark Eyes, as a lot of people do, and yeah, I've never actually got around to listening to that, so that is a great start to the Big Finish collection video. However, moving on to one that I actually have listened to, it is of course Doom Coalition 1, starring the debut of the 11. Now, I've never actually reviewed this box set either, however, I did review the other of the Doom Coalition series, and I think that this one is a fairly fun start. I really like the 11 and I really like the Red Lady, and the other two are a little bit too weak. I think I need to revisit this box set at some point to maybe give it a different chance now that the whole quadrilogy has ended. But yeah, it's quite a nice start, probably one of the stronger ones. Then we move on to Doom Coalition 2, which to me is a little bit of the weak box set of the whole quadrilogy. We do have Beachhead in there, and then I think Scenes from Her Life or something like that, A Gift, and the Sonomancer. It is a little bit of an unusual one. It does feature a River Song in there as well, and yeah, it's an odd box set. How is sort of a part of the trilogy, so if you get Doom Coalition 1, you kind of need to get Doom Coalition 2. Moving on to Doom Coalition 3 now. This is the one that kind of puts the quadrilogy back on track. We have River Song as the Nun, we have the award-winning Absent Friends. A full two-parter where we have River Song and the 8th Doctor's companions going through time. It is in fact a rather fun release and rather complex as well. And then we move on to, of course, the series finale that is Doom Coalition 4, which is a big massive explosion of classic series meets new series. We've got the Weeping Angels in there, we've got the 11, we've got the 10, 10, we've got the Sonomancer returning, we've got a story in America as well. It's a little bit of a wild one with a lot of Gallifrey and political stuff in, and yeah, I quite like it. And once again, I'd like to go back and listen to the whole of that series, because I feel like it deserves a little bit more attention. Moving on to the sequel now of the 8th Doctor Doom Coalition series, we of course have a more recent box set, Ravenous 1, featuring the Candyman and the 11 once again. I did review this one just recently, so if you want to find out my thoughts on that one, then go and check out the review, along with the majority of the box sets, in fact, in this video. But you have a nice cover art on the front, along with the individual CDs on the inside. Then we move on to the next series of 8th Doctor Adventures, the one that's going on, I do believe, until 2020 or 2022, something like that, is of course Time War 1. No doubt by, in fact, the time this video goes out, Time War 2 will be released. But yeah, this is a rather interesting box set, once again, featuring a good Dalek. We also have Bliss as the new companion in there as well. Still waiting to see where the 8th Doctor Time War series goes, I think, to really fully decide on that series. Then we move on to the wonderful War Doctor era, with, of course, Sir John Hurt, the late Sir John Hurt, in Only the Monstrous. Once again, a brilliant release. I think that I really recommend this series, in fact, for the new series listeners. But this is, of course, Daleks all the way through, and John Hurt does an absolutely amazing job. I particularly enjoyed the Innocents in this box set, the opening episode. We move on to Volume 2. It is, of course, Infernal Devices, featuring Jacqueline Pierce as Cardinal Alistra. And then we also move on to Agents of Chaos on there as well, the Sontaran story that is rather unusual and is rather fun-looking Dalek Commander there, that looks a little bit like the one from Dark Eyes. And then finally, we have the final box set from the War Doctor era, and sort of the final War Doctor stories, in fact, featuring Louise Jameson returning as Leela, once again in Casualties of War as the final War Doctor series. Yeah, I recommend that series quite a lot for the new series fan, and the classic ones that want to get a little bit more into the John Hurt Doctor. Continuing on that Time War theme now, we have two absolutely phenomenal box sets that I adore and I've once again reviewed recently in the past year. To start off with, we have the War Master, Only the Good. Now, this is one of the best bits, I think, in my Big Finish collection. I absolutely adore this box set. I recommend it to classic series fans, new series fans, and people that generally just want to get into Big Finish. Very experimental. One particularly, The Skyman, written by James Goss. I think it's the third story in this release. It is really brilliant. It's almost like Spare Parts, but in a weird, sort of twisted way, and not with the Cybermen. Then we have some other stories in there as well, such as Beneath the Viscoid, showing the War Master going up against the Daleks, which is rather interesting. And we also have the other one, the second one, which I think is called The Good Master, where we have the sort of Master pretending to be the Doctor to an extent. So yeah, it is a really good one. Check out my review of that. I highly recommend it. As I said, for one of the best releases that I in fact own. Then moving on to one of Big Finish's spin-offs, once again, it is Gallifrey Time War Volume 1. And this is once again one of Big Finish's more classic series, and once again combines new series Doctor Who with classic series Doctor Who. We have Romana in this, we have Irving Braxatel, rather obscure Doctor Who character, we have Sophie Aldred as Ace, we have once again Derek Jacobi as the War Master, Louise Jameson as Leela, and we also have Sean Carlson as Narvin. And I've only recently just got into the Gallifrey series. I know there's a few other box sets out as well, called like Enemy Lines or something like that, and this is once again one that I really do adore. We've got the Dalek Emperor in there, and some really great scenes, some of which that I hope maybe sort of affect the 8th Doctor Time War box set. I feel like this is kind of what the Time War with the 8th Doctor is missing. So yeah, and maybe even the War Doctor series to an extent as well. So yeah, I do love this one. Highly recommend it. And it comes in sort of a smaller case as well, kind of a double dual case for 3 CDs, which is rather nice, and it's rather slim, which is quite cool. Hopping into another universe now, we have a little bit of an Unbound Doctor Who collection. First off, starting with Sympathy for the Devil, which is in fact my most recent pickup for the line, featuring David Warner as the Unbound Doctor and Nicholas Courtney as the Brigadier in another universe. Now, I do believe that this is his debut story. It is quite old, probably from around 2003. Recently listened to it in college, absolutely loved it. I'm still yet to review it or anything like that. I may do at some point. But I really do recommend that one. Once again, I believe it will probably be going out of print soon, because I think I picked this up for literally £2 in the warehouse sale, as I said, so I recommend that. Then moving on to 2 of more classic Big Finish Doctor Who spin-offs, it is of course Bernie Summerfield. Now, the amount of Bernie's stories, there's absolutely tons of them. This is not even the tip of the iceberg when it comes to them. These are 2 volumes, being Volume 3 and Volume 4 from the new adventures of Bernie Summerfield, starting off with the Unbound universe, once again, with David Warner as the Unbound Doctor and Mark Gatiss, or Sam Kisgart, as the Master in another universe once again. Absolutely love this box set. I reviewed it unintentionally about a year ago, after not really expecting much, and once again it's probably one of my favourite Big Finish box sets. It also continues in the excellent Volume 4, which is of course in The City and the Clock, The Asking for a Friend, Trant, and The True Saviour of the Universe. David Warner, Doctor, nicely sitting, being the sort of main president of the universe there, rather coolly at the front. So I do absolutely love that area of Doctor Who, as you all probably know if you've seen those reviews. Moving on a little bit more now, we in fact have a badge. Yay! Big Finish gave me this at a convention about a year or so ago, and that kind of just sits on my shelf looking and cool and it's all very shiny, and sometimes I wear that in reviews, so I guess that is Big Finish related, so it can just sit there. The rest of this shelf now belongs to one particular spin-off that I'm sure you can all tell what one it is, considering the logo is completely repeated along the side here. It is, of course, Jago and Lightfoot. Now, to start off with, I have a few of the singular releases, so starting off with Benjamin and Baxter, of course, the interview release with Trevor Baxter and Christopher Benjamin there. A really nice piece if you are a fan of Jago and Lightfoot, a really nice interview as well, going into the characters and the careers that they've had as two gentlemen. Honestly, a really fun release. A little bit like the This Is Colin CD that was released a few years or so back. Then we have the pilot episode for Jago and Lightfoot. It's, of course, the Mahogany Murders, my only companion chronicle release, because I'm not much of a fan of that line, I must admit. I find them a little bit difficult to listen to. Then we get another singular release. It is the Fourth Doctor series with Mary Tammer's Romana 1 in the Justice of Jalxar. I solely have this just because Jago and Lightfoot are in it. I can't even lie there. Yeah, that just sits there. A rather fun story from what I can recall. And then finally, for the singular releases, we have Jago, Lightfoot and Strax, signed by Lisa Bauman. Of course, Jago and Lightfoot's very own Ellie Higson. Once again, a rather nice singular release. I'm guessing they're probably intended on doing a few more, but hey, that will no longer happen, unfortunately, due to Trevor Baxter's sad passing last year. But yeah, a rather fun one. Not one of the best stories. I think probably one of the weaker ones for Jago and Lightfoot, but still a fun one if you are looking to get into the series. Moving on to the actual box sets, you of course have Series 1, and I'm actually starting a review series very soon where I go back to the very beginning of Jago and Lightfoot and do whole reviews of each series. The first one might be up already, but I have already reviewed them in advance. But yeah, Series 1 is very good, a rather nice starting piece. Then move on to Series 2, a rather nice gothic horror with vampires, and it's very historical and really gets to grips with the setting of Jago and Lightfoot. It's a rather dark box set, and there is in fact one that I can recall called The Theatre of Dreams, which is the third story of the box set. Absolutely stand out, adore it. It's like a big massive Doctor Who trippy episode. You don't quite know what's happening, and yeah, you'll see all that in the review when I eventually review it. Then we have Jago and Lightfoot Series 3, one of which I just finished listening to yesterday, and this is a rather fun one featuring the return of Leela to Victorian London, and we have a little bit of a mix between fantasy and sort of fairy tale in there as well, along with Jago and Lightfoot meets science fiction. It is rather cool. Yeah, probably not the best box set, but I still think it is a very strong one. Then we move on to, of course, Jago and Lightfoot Series 4 with Colin Baker. Can't comment on this one yet because I've not in fact listened to it. As with the majority of Jago and Lightfoot from the early half, I've still yet to enjoy the rest of it, which I can't wait to do so in the future, but rather nice cover art. Then we move on to the hippie series, I like to call it, which is the rather cool Jago and Lightfoot Series 5. As you can see, it's all nice and bubbly where they travel to the 1960s, I do believe. I can't wait to listen to that one, as we have a whole remix of the theme tune, so that'll be rather fun. And then we move on to Jago and Lightfoot Series 6. This is one that I once again recently picked up solely to complete the collection, and I honestly can't tell you anything about this one whatsoever. Don't have a clue what it's about. I think Jago and Lightfoot may go on holiday or something like that to Brighton. I feel like that's at some point in this period of time in the Jago and Lightfoot era, but yeah, I will review that one as well at some point. Of course, Series 7, this one seems to have a little bit of a Sherlock theme. Once again, very much excited to listen to see what this one has to offer. I do believe we've got a little bit about Jack the Ripper in this one as well, which I basically can't wait to listen to this piece because I have a lot of hopes for it. We also have Comrade Asquith there in the corner as Inspector Quick, who is absolutely brilliant in that series. Then we have Series 8, which I have listened to. This is one of my earlier buys from the Jago and Lightfoot era and features the absolutely amazing encore of the Scorchies, which I do believe were also in a companion chronicle with Joe Grant. I absolutely adore that release. It is the opening episode of this box set, and yeah, it's probably one of my favourite Doctor Who stories of all time, to be honest, because it is such a great one. It's basically Jago and Lightfoot does a musical, and that is a rather fun series, to be honest. I do really recommend that one, also including Jago, Lightfoot and Patsy, the Backwoodsmen, and Higson and Quick in there as well. The next series it is, of course, Jago and Lightfoot Series 9. Now, this is where Jago and Lightfoot go on holiday on a boat, I do believe, and we have an episode called The Frenchmen or something like that. The Flying Frenchmen, Island of Death, Devils of the Dice Men, and Return of the Nightmare, which I'm looking forward to see what that series has to offer. But as I say, can't comment on that one whatsoever yet because I've not listened to it. Final run of releases for this shelf, it is of course Jago and Lightfoot Series 10. The series that in fact started my adventures with Jago and Lightfoot, so naturally this is a very good series. I think my main highlight for this one was in fact the Year of the Bat, where you had these Victorian nannies flying around London and they were in fact bats or something like that. It was quite unusual, as you can probably tell. Then we have Series Series 11, which is once again the return of the Master and the return of the Sixth Doctor. So as you can all guess, this one was rather exciting, rather gothic horror, and I did like it, once again, much like the rest of Jago and Lightfoot, because it is a flawless series. And yeah, I can recall this one being rather dark, and it is sort of a minor part of the 2016 Master trilogy, with like And You Will Obey Me, the two Masters that's set in. I do believe it is quite a loose link or something like that. So yeah, that's a fun release. And then finally, for the actual series box sets, we also have Jago and Lightfoot Series 12, with a few good stories on. Once again, picture this. The Flickermen, Warm Blood, and the School of Blood. I can recall the School of Blood being a rather exciting one, once again about vampires. We had the Return of the Vampires from Series 2. Fortunately, have Season 13 yet on actual physical copy. I do, of course, have the download version. But yeah, I will get the physical version of Jago and Lightfoot Series 13 at some point where I have the money, just because these are quite expensive, you know, and I don't want to sell my liver in order to get some Jago and Lightfoot box sets, but I have actually considered it. Probably not even lying there. And the final release is, of course, Jago and Lightfoot Forever, that did come out recently this year, which is, of course, the final ever story of Jago and Lightfoot, a wonderful tribute to Trevor Baxter. You can check out the review of that on the channel. It has just recently gone up, and we do also have Jago and Lightfoot The Revival in there as well, which is a rather emotional yet brilliant release. Jago and Lightfoot meeting the 11th Doctor and 10th Doctor in narration form. And before we move on to the shelf below, we do also have a few of the Big Finish special releases, starting off with the 6th Doctor, Last Adventure, finally featuring the full-length regeneration of the 6th Doctor and not the crappy one that you got within the TV show itself. Once again, this is a brilliant release. We do have the Valeyard in this box set, played by Michael Jason. I have Stage Fright in there as well with Jago and Lightfoot, which was my first ever story with Jago and Lightfoot in, which got me hooked from the very beginning, also including Flip, played by Lisa Greenwood, a great episode. And we also have the introduction of Constance Clark in there as well, in her sort of first Big Finish story, but not her actual story in the timelines. It's kind of complex. But yeah, a really nice box set, limited to 10,000, and I highly recommend it for the regeneration alone. It is much deserved, it is beautiful, and it made me cry on several occasions. Jago and Lightfoot Forever made me cry as well, but that one made me actually like full-on meltdown. So yeah. Special releases, we do also have the first volume of 10th Doctor Adventures, starring, of course, Catherine Tate as Donna Noble. Now this, of course, features 3 stories: Technophobia, Time Reaver, and Death and the Queen, limited to 5,000. So yeah, that is rather fun one. Reviewed that before. If you want to check out my thoughts, check out the reviews. And then finally, for the special box sets, we do have the second volume of 10th Doctor Adventures, this time featuring the return of Billy Piper in Series 2, featuring once again 3 stories: Infamy of Zaros, The Sword of the Chevalier, and then The Cold Vengeance, once again limited to 5,000. A very fun release. It was released, I think, in November. I recommend checking out this one for a few of the stories that, in fact, give Rose a little bit more padding and sort of a bit more respect as compared to the TV show. So yeah, that is quite good. However, it's still not the best. I'm still waiting for the 10th Doctor era to, in fact, have its proper whoa moment on Big Finish. Just fitting another release in there as well, because no doubt I will forget, because it's not, in fact, a CD release. It is a book. It is Doctor Who Bernie Summerfield True Stories, and I reviewed this once again last year. It came out alongside, I think, Ruler of the Universe. But yeah, a rather nice release. Interesting listening to a Big Finish story in the actual prose format as opposed to an audio drama. Yeah, I recommend that one if you're a Bernie Summerfield fan. Moving on to the lower shelf, this is a shelf that I like to call the Oops shelf, because I never intended on having more than one shelf of Big Finish, yet here we are, many series in, many box sets in, and now I don't have hardly any space. This is kind of the overfill shelf, not my official display really, but it's kind of became an official display by kind of needing space to put them, because I'm running out very, very quickly. So yeah, once again, this is what it looks like with all the merchandise on. However, for the ease of this video, I'm going to take it all off to make it easier to show you all. This part of my Big Finish collection is mainly home to the unit, the new series box sets, as well as quite a few of the Big Finish main range 6th Doctor releases from the past few years. Starting off, we have the first series, which is Unit Extinction. I got this at the Doctor Who Festival, if I can recall rightly. A rather nice 21st century Auton invasion, and in fact, I do believe one of the most earliest Big Finish reviews I ever did on this channel. Then we have the second series, which is Unit Shutdown, featuring the Tengabushi, I believe they were called, or something like that. One of the only series to, in fact, have completely brand new villains. So that is rather interesting, but probably one of the weakest. Then we have Unit Silenced, featuring the Silence returning in a Silence UK invasion, I suppose. A rather political one, rather interesting once again to see the Silence in Big Finish. Disassembled, which is once again the definitive Unit classic series meets new series box set, featuring the Silurians and Sea Devils. Rather fun, very nostalgic, and quite unique as well. I recommend picking that one up if you're looking for somewhere to start. And then we have Unit Encounters, which is a rather unusual box set, once again probably one of the more weaker ones, as opposed to having one big 4-hour story. This one is kind of 4 separate stories with a plot intertwined throughout. Interesting, but once again probably one of the weaker ones. on, still don't mind it, and I am still yet to get the Cyber Reality box set in physical form, even though that I reviewed it a few months ago. Once again, don't have money because I bought some more Big Chiefs, didn't I? The more singular monthly range, main range releases, whatever you want to call them. Starting off, these are in no particular order. Of 1963, Fanfare for the Common Men. Solely got this one because it looked cool, to be honest. I'm still yet to listen to the whole thing. I got distracted, I think, by some of the more recent releases. I'll get around to that at some point. Then we have an interview CD, the Colin Baker one, signed by Colin himself. I got that one on the pre-order a few years ago. Then we have the Sixth Doctor early story, real time, once again with Evelyn Smythe. This one was in fact a BBC animated, which is why it's got this rather unusual cover. A rather cool story that I need to listen to once again at some point because it has been quite a long time. Then we get The Holy Terror, which is probably one of my #1 Doctor Who stories specifically of all time. Once again, it's got quite a few signatures on, including Rob Sherman, Nicholas Pegg, and even Frobisher on there as well, Robert Zizek. Absolutely adore that one, as I'm sure you probably all know. And I do believe that was probably one of the first reviews again on this channel from the Big Finish line. I adore it, and it's probably the 1 to 50s. It's in fact the 14th release from Big Finish that they ever did. Then we move on to Maltese Penguin, kind of the sequel for Frobisher in his rather fun 1 hour extra story, so I do quite like that. It's a little bit of a fun one. Then we get the 50 to 100 range. I got a few of these for Christmas because I know that they're going to be selling out completely soon, so I can't really comment on any of these because I've not had the time to listen to them yet. So starting off, we have the Sixth Doctor release 51, which is the Wormery, featuring Iris Wildthyme, which seems rather interesting. Then we get Medicinal Purposes, which is release 60 with the Sixth Doctor. The Juggernauts, which is the 65th release, featuring the Davros, Daleks, and the Mechanoids, which looks rather cool with Mel in there as well. Release 84, which is the Nowhere Place, once again with the Sixth Doctor. Are you sensing a theme here? I'm only buying the Sixth Doctor ones, how could you tell? Yeah, that seems a rather fun one. It's got a train on the front, so I'm excited for that. And then we get a rather interesting Cyberman two-parter, which is The Reaping, as you can see there with Perry, and then that continues on in the Fifth Doctor era with the Gathering as well, which is another Cyberman story, which I'm rather intrigued to see how that one plays out, especially over 2 eras of Doctor Who. So yeah, those are for the earlier releases, and then we move on to the more recent monthly range releases. Firstly, we have one of the Sixth Doctor and Flip releases, being The Curse of Davros. I can recall listening to this one quite a long time ago and really enjoying it. A rather fun story, once again introducing Flip back to Doctor Who. Then that continues on with another Sixth Doctor and Flip adventure, being The Return of Syl in Antidote to Oblivion by Philip Martin, which looks rather exciting. We've got an underground sign there at the bottom, therefore I'm quite intrigued. And then we have another Sixth Doctor story, this time the Sixth Doctor, Jamie and Zoe in Last of the Cybermen. Never listened to this one, not gonna lie, I'm still yet to get around to it at some point. I think I got it for Christmas one time and then just didn't listen to it for some reason. Then we move on to in fact, the first review I do believe that I did of the Big Finish main range on this channel, and it is Criss-Cross by Matt Fitton, the introductory story for Miranda Rayson, which is rather fun, and it is based in Bletchley Park during the war, which is a rather interesting setting. Then we get Planet of the Rani, which features the return of the Rani from the other episode, being, I do believe, the Rani Elite or something like that, featuring Miranda Rayson once again. Then we get The Shield of the Jotun by Ian Eddington, Giant Unusual Creature. I do believe it was set in the Arctic. Then we move on to the Master trilogy, so we start off with And You Will Obey Me, a rather interesting one with the Fifth Doctor and the Master, and his TARDIS being a grandfather clock, which is rather cool, and I believe that he possessed some kids or something like that. A rather odd one, but rather intriguing at the same time. Alex McQueen meets the Sixth Doctor in Vampire of the Mind. I can recall really enjoying this one, a little bit timey-wimey and complex, but get the final of the Master trilogy from 2016, which is The Two Masters, written by John Dorney, featuring Alex McQueen and Geoffrey Beevers, which I can recall this one being quite a timey-wimey as well, sort of having overlaps in regenerations and things like that, so yeah, rather fun and unusual. Then we move on to some of the more sort of niche releases. We have the Nightshade release, which is done by Mark Gatiss and adapted by Kyle C. Scazzara, which I think that this one was rather cool, rather dark at the same time. I do believe from the Virgin New Adventures, I reviewed that quite a while ago. Then we have the 50th anniversary special, Light at the End, which is a brilliant piece, a great tribute to classic series Doctor Who. And then we get the 8th Doctor story, The Silver Turk, which once again, I got this one on sale quite a long time ago. I believe this one is set in Vienna, and it's written by the same person that did Spare Parts, so I'm assuming that this one is probably incredible. I've not listened to the whole thing yet, but I've heard very, very good things. And then finally finishing off for this row of releases, we do of course, have Classic Doctors, New Monsters, the whole box set. My favourite of this one probably being Fallen Angel and Jadoon in Chains. I believe that one is called of the 6th Doctor. Yep, I think that one is a really cool box set once again, and I don't have the second volume, unfortunately, because I'm still yet to buy it physically. I only have the download version. Then going on to the final clump of releases. Some of these are big finish, some of them aren't. This is surely just here because I don't know where else to put them. So starting off with, we get the only Torchwood series that I review on this channel, being Torchwood 1 with Yvonne Hartman, Before the Fall. That is volume 1. I do believe, once again, by the time this review goes out, I think that the other release will be out featuring the return of Wotan, so no doubt that will be rather exciting to listen to. Then we get the David Bradley First Doctor Adventures, Destination Wars and the Great White Hurricane. Once again, I reviewed that one a while ago, and it was rather interesting to see David Bradley in the role full time. And then we move on to a few additional releases in there as well, including the Series 9, in fact Series 8 soundtrack, not Series 9. Then we get this rather unusual one, which is the Serpent Quest or something like that. My mum picked that up for me a while ago, but I do believe it is a part of a big series, so I haven't listened to that one. Then we get the Doctor Who Adventures trimmed down version of the Mutant Phase from the 1 to 50s, which I had that absolutely ages ago. This is technically, I guess, my first ever big finish, but I don't really class it as one because, you know, it was a very, very long time ago. And then we get my audiobook releases that I've got, well, a very small collection, to be honest. We have Galaxy 4, read by Maureen O'Brien. Then we also get a Sarah Jane audiobook, The Ghost House. Can't recall any of that, to be honest. I don't know where I got it or when I got it. Then we get The Peacemaker, which is an audiobook once again. The Stone Rose audiobook, probably picked that up from a market. And then we get The Thing from the Sea, and then get the audio annual, one of the more recent releases, and then we get 2 more adaptations, being The Ark, read by Peter Purves, and then finally we get the 5 Doctors, once again another recent one, read by John Culshaw, and then to end off with, we get the 10th Doctor novelisations, volume 2, featuring a lot of the 10th Doctor stories in, as you can see, audiobook format, which is a rather big set there. To end off this video, I thought I would go through my Doctor Who vinyl record collection briefly, just to end off, because I suppose vinyl and CD kind of fall within the same format. They are both audio formats to some extent, so it kind of made sense to fit them in just at the very end of this video. So I'll only go through my vinyl records in the Doctor Who series, because I suppose that the majority of you are only here for that, and you're probably not really very interested in my probably quite poor music taste. So taking a look on the inside, this box I in fact got from HMV. It's very good, only £25, so yeah, good of those few that are just starting out with vinyl records. So we do have the Doctor Who, the infamy of the Zaros vinyl, which is exclusive to HMV, a yellow vinyl limited to 750. I reviewed that just recently and it is rather cool. Really happy to in fact have that in the collection. Then we have the one earlier on in the series, which is the exclusive to Sainsbury's Energy of the Daleks Big Finish vinyl, which is in the blue format, which is once again quite cool. I enjoyed reviewing that one. Then we move on to my original television soundtracks, which is basically the music soundtracks from a few classic stories. So we start off with the one that I got for my birthday last year. In fact, my first ever vinyl I ever got, and it is the Doctor Who The Daleks First Doctor, music by Tristan Carey, which I did review that, which is a rather nice novelty to have. And then one of my recent records to the collection, one of which I've not reviewed yet, it is the double LP of the original television soundtrack to Ghost Light, of course, the 7th Doctor story, which is rather cool, with music by Mark Ayres. And then we move on to the Record Store Day 2018 releases. We have the City of Death vinyl, which is basically the soundtrack of the story, narrated over the top. A review of that will be coming soon. It might be out already, in fact, I don't know. Those stickers aren't in fact on the actual thing, that is the cover that is over the top. I wouldn't dare buy a product with the stickers over them because I absolutely hate them, not gonna lie. And then we also have the Tomb of the Cybermen television record soundtrack. Once again, that label isn't stuck on, it's just the cling film wrap over the top, and that is a lovely silver vinyl. And then finally, to end off, we have the Now That's What I Call Music 12 release. Now you think that this might be quite an odd one to in fact end on, but my dad gave me this quite a while ago, on that no doubt a lot of you would have heard of, and it is of course the Time Lords, which, taking a look on the back here, we have on side 2, or in fact record 2 side 1, we have Doctor in the TARDIS by the Time Lords, which is a song that came out quite a while ago. As you can tell, I think we're on to Now That's What I Call Music 98 or something like that now. So yeah, this is quite an old piece, but it's got that Doctor Who song on, which I must admit I have put on occasion and blasted through the house, which, yeah, is quite a good tune, I'm not even gonna lie. But yeah, that is generally my record collection, and I'm really hoping to add to that a little bit more in the future. Yeah, that's really it for my Big Finish collection. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that this video was worth the wait as well, after literally like 3 years of sort of planning to do it. There you go, it's finally out, and I don't need to do another one for maybe a few years. I tuned for the 4,000 subscribers room tour at some point. I've still not filmed it yet, but it is on the way, I do promise, because I'm currently on sort of my holidays at the minute, so I have more time to do it. I'm just waiting for certain bits of merchandise to arrive that I actually want to be in the room tour. The room tours always get quite a lot of viewers on those, so I kind of want my collection to be up to scratch by that point. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And I guess stay tuned for more Doctor Who Big Finish audio drama reviews in the future as well. So yeah, thanks for watching. Let's just see you all next time. Bye for now.